I don't think anyone ever accused John Calvin of being overly optimistic. In fact, many historians point to the 5 Points of Calvinism as the product of someone who has a rather dim view of humanity. At some point in your pre-UUSG life, you may have heard the 5 points referred to by the acronym TULIP. Anybody heard this one before, TULIP? Misbegotten youth, anybody? No? Okay. They stand for total depravity, unconditional election, limited atonement, irresistible grace, and perseverance of the saints. We're now not going to go into all of that. But I do want to say that a cheery acronym doesn't make bad theology smell better. For the record, it isn't just me that finds this offensive. Way back in 1886, the Unitarian minister James Freeman Clarke wrote a sermon he titled "The 5 Points of a New Theology," where he outlined a rather more hopeful and hope-filled counter to Calvin. He suggested that good liberal religion recognize and center love, community, charitable service, commitment to personal growth, and the arc of human progress, onward, upward, forever. If these 5 points feel rather familiar to you, it's because most Unitarian Universalists today still feel that these generically kind of capture our movement. I say that, but the truth is maybe slightly more complicated. Ask any UU minister today about Clarke's 5 points, and they will have learned about it in school. And what you're likely going to hear is the onward, upward, forever bit. And they'll probably not be very happy when they say it. They may even frown very seriously. Very seriously, and say that Clarke's view of humanity was, at best, naive. They may say that those of us that survived World Wars I and II, the Cold War, the Vietnam War, the wars on drugs, and the war on terror, we see the world a bit more clearly than Clarke ever did. They may say that the history of humanity is riddled with missteps, backward steps, and even outright atrocity. They may say that oppression and bigotry and hate are just as real today as they ever were. They may, in short, sound a lot like John Calvin, because that's what good propaganda does. It turns you inside out. Of course, my very serious colleagues are not entirely wrong. It is relatively trivial today, with the aid of Google, to create a private and endless parade of bad news, injustice, and harm. And any sense that our species is on a climb out of the cold misery of antiquity can be thrown down by some very specific examples that our species is, in point of fact, not on an escalator to excellence. To anyone paying attention, we seem to be stuck in the lobby of ignorance and spite, or so some might say. But that's not really the whole story, is it? If we were to be fair to history and fact, the truth is that we are, as a culture, and at long last, finally bearing witness to some of the darkest corners of a world that we've always lived in. The importance and impact of a free press simply cannot be overstated. But the fact that these corners are finally being revealed does not mean that such corners didn't already exist, nor that they are out there multiplying like super bunnies with something to prove. No, they have always been there. We just know more now. And while that knowledge can be depressing, knowing and sharing the truth is a good thing, a cleansing thing, because exposing our collective failings, our shortcomings, our missteps is necessary in healing. The challenge that knowledge gives us then is, what do we do with this knowledge? We are seekers after truth and justice. We know better, and when we know better, we do better. Knowledge isn't a one-time statement of fact and theory. It must evolve, change, grow, and inspire. And what we know today is that progress is happening. It is. But it is not happening equitably, fairly, or consistently. However, that fact is not an indictment of the project of progress. Minding the gaps is precisely the project plan for the project of progress. Equity, fairness, consistency, that's where we're going next. And as long as good people with good hearts and ready hands, as long as you and I and we together are there to make the future happen, then it will. Onward, upward, forever. These words were never meant as a statement of fact. They are not inevitable. Progress was only ever our bold statement of our joint aspiration, of how we want to be in the world, of how we plan to work in the world. Human progress is how we plan to change our world. It's a powerful statement, and it's uniquely ours. So let's talk about UUSG. In case you missed the roundtables back in January, here's the short form. We are in good shape. What we're aiming at now is sustainable shape. The very specific challenge that we have is that our income has not matched up with our outgo, and that's not news to most of you. Financially, we are where we are for reasons that are old and complicated. Years ago, we had some staffing challenges. Our beloved minister, after 40 years, retired. That led to some challenges in our interim period. And then came the pandemic, lions, tigers, bears, oh my. We suddenly found ourselves with, or at least facing, a relatively old problem. But instead of cutting our way to prosperity, our leadership made a bet. If we invest in people, in program, in place, their bet was that UUSG would bloom. In the short term, and to meet our needs and live into our aspirations, we've been drawing down from reserves. The fact that we have reserves is a huge advantage, and ours are in remarkable shape. But like any savings account, they're not infinite, and that brings me to the sustainability part. Back in January, we talked here in the sanctuary about how we're doing, about the plan and what we still need to do. We knew that bringing this to you was the right thing because knowing better creates the opportunity for us to do better. And we didn't know, though, what to expect. Anytime conversations pivot around money, people have strong feelings. We disagree, visions differ, fingers get pointed, voices and tempers tend to rise. But we didn't see that in January. Instead of all the reactions we could have seen, what I find comforting, what I find inspiring, is that you came away curious. You came away challenged. You committed. And that is quite a testament to your spirit, to your vision, to our plan. A lot of our sister congregations across the regions have not been so lucky. They have significant debt, they lack staff, they lack vision, a plan, resources. This next few years is going to be very challenging for many churches across the country. But quite frankly, our situation is different. For us, we have a runway. It's not unlimited, but it is a runway. And to clear it, we need one thing, and that's growth. The path ahead is a function of time and talent and treasure. We need hands, we need creativity, and yeah, we need money. Together, these will close our budget deficit and give us new opportunities to do even more fun things. Onward, upward, forever. And here's the best part. We can totally do this. The next step is you. In the next few weeks, members of the stewardship team will be reaching out, and I am asking as a personal favor to listen to them. Just to understand that they are feeling weird and anxious and uncomfortable, same as you. but know that they are coming to you with hope pinned to their sleeve. Hope for today, hope for the future, hope for all of the hopes that you have, for all of the dreams that we collectively carry. And they're going to ask you for your pledge of support to UUSG. And if you're able, they're also going to ask you to stretch, to do what you can to get us onto the path of sustainability. To be very transparent, I know how you feel about that. Asking for money is so hard. Believe me, I know that most of us would really like to have a little more, save a little more, get a little more from the dollars that we have. But it is a fact that today, in our world, how we choose to spend our money is the surest sign of the values we choose to hold and lift up. When you give to UUSG, you give to your values. You give to your future. You give to each other. And what you give is a gift that is absurdly difficult to find in our modern, distracted, fast-paced world. The gift of place. A place for spiritual growth, a place for justice, a place for learning, a place for music, a place for fun. A place to dream the big dreams, think the big thoughts, love into a future that we could not have imagined alone. A place for so much and for so much more. Your organization, your church, a place that you get to call home. My friends, I believe that UUSG has a bright future. And I see new faces here every week. There are so many folks in our region looking for a little more light, a little more connection, a little more love, for a place to belong, for a place to be lifted up. But what they're really looking for is you, for a place that you are making. They had no idea that what they had been missing has been here all along. And just as once upon a time you found us, now is your chance to welcome them home too. Once upon a time, the founders of this little church made a big bet, just like we're making today. They believed in our unique message, in our liberal faith, and in our potential to create positive, progressive change in our world. I have no idea what they think about our tech team, or the fact that we had our rockin' band here this morning, or the fact that our building has both heat and cooling. But I'd like to believe that they'd be delighted that their covenant is our covenant, that their place is our place, and that we are here carrying on in their name, still adding our hopes and dreams to theirs. I have no idea where we will be a couple hundred years from now, but it is my dearest hope that these distant descendants will think fondly of us, carry our covenant, and live out their lives as we have done, always pushing the arc of progress, onward, upward, forever. May it ever be so. My friends, thank you. You are the gift. You are UUSG, and I love you so much. Amen.
Visit us at uusg.org.